So, guys, this is my review for Tōkyō Revengers episode number 2. And with that, guys, let's jump right into episode 2 in my review. Let's get it. Episode 2 was titled Resistance. And I just want to point this out there that I watched episodes 1 and 2 months ago, basically when the anime was still fresh and new. It was roughly about 5 or 6 episodes into it when I decided to start watching episodes 1 and 2 and doing reaction recordings for them. But life happened and this got put on the back burner, and then eventually the season was over. But now deciding to really just dive into it. So basically saying, guys, like, just be on the lookout for my reactions to these episodes moving forward. Hopefully for the week, I'm gonna try to get those out to you all throughout this week to come. So, but with that, guys, let's continue. So the conversation between Naoto and Takemichi here is very interesting in itself because they were talking about some stuff. Now, I mentioned this in my review of episode 1 that's also here on the channel that went up roughly about a half hour ago to my review of episode 2 here, that I was talking about time travel. And I feel like when it's pertaining to Tōkyō Revengers and how time travel works, for me, I'm questioning things because we know that we can take various time travel plots and try to implement them here in the show to try to guess how the direction of this time travel that they're doing, which way it's gonna flow and go. Because we know that there's various time traveling ways to go about things. We could take the Back to the Future. The movie, how the movies go with Back to the Future and how they do time travel. We could take the Flash and the Flashpoint and all of that. Barry Allen using time travel when it's pertaining to the Speed Force, and then we could take time travel when it's pertaining to like Marvel and what they do with time travel. So I'm curious to see where this goes when it's pertaining to Naoto and Takemichi, and how, like, for me, I'm questioning, like, okay, if they go back and change one thing. I mentioned this in episode 1 where I say, like if you move something in the past, like move a chair or stop some specific person from dying, it can create a time paradox where it creates a totally new timeline. Would that occur here? Is if they save Hinata, would that create a whole different timeline? Would it still affect this current timeline, or would it keep it the same? Or is it where if they try to save Hinata, it would create a very negative timeline, like for this current timeline? Because again, we know that Naoto dies as well as Hinata 12 years, in the future, and them going and then having Takemichi go back to the past to meet Sano and Kiyoshi and stop them from meeting. Would that the gang meeting, because they're literally going from the very point, the very main point of the timeline where they're viewing it as this gang who was involved in Hinata's death, of course with Naoto as well. They are looking to stop it at the core spot in the main timeline from 12 years ago. So I'm just curious and wondering if they stop Hinata from dying, would that create a negative timeline? Or is it that Hinata has to die anyway? Naoto has to die anyway. It's just one of those things that I'm questioning, that I wanted to bring up here in the very beginning of episode 2. It's just something that I'm questioning out loud. I'm just very curious, and I'm really not sure what's to come when it's pertaining to the story. So very interesting stuff, but let's move on with what happened in episode 2. Now, I'm glad that they put this here where they talk about, like, Naoto basically says, like, we believe that or I believe that because you come in contact with me, like you physically touch me, like we shake hands, and that's what activates your time traveling powers to take you back to July 4th of 2005. it makes me wonder, just something that I was wondering too, like maybe, maybe because you know Hinata's his sister, what if he shakes hands with Hinata? Does that also activate his time traveling powers as well? Now again, more than likely, that's just something that I'm theorizing on the side, but more than likely because they shook hands back when he first time traveled back in the past 12 years ago, and they shook hands back when he was a little boy. That of course did indeed uh, activate his powers. But I I am just just still curious about a few things when it's pertaining to uh, the show and in this episode uh, when trying to save Hinata. But again, I am glad that they placed this here, that this is what activates his powers. But could this possibly have a negative effect moving forward in the story if they were to come in contact with each other continuously in other areas and stuff like that throughout the show, when it's whether it's the past or the present? Just something that I'm thinking about on the side. I do like the fact that him and Inada, the second episode in, they have another encounter. Now again, it's one of those things that I'm kind of curious about too. That they're meeting at her right outside her house. They continuously meet. From what I could tell, they meet here twice. Now, I wonder, is this one of those things where they're going to continuously meet, specifically here more? Are they going to meet at the at school, or are they going to meet out in the street? I feel like them encountering each other could have a specific effect on Takemichi moving forward, because because again, because they're they're girlfriend and boyfriend, and the stuff like where it's just that thing, that is this going to have an effect on Takemichi moving forward whenever she's not around and he's in trouble? Could this could him seeing her over and over again have an interesting effect on his career? I believe that it's going to. It's just one of those things, because it's just that they keep meeting here. It makes me wonder, are they going to meet somewhere else, or are they just going to continue to meet specifically here outside her home? Just one of those things. But I do like the fact that they were having this conversation. And any time that they're meeting each other, he's always been bruised up and battered. And she's just like really being stressed over about the fact that he's, every time she's seeing him, he's beat up, he's dirty and stuff like that. So this is one of those things that I'm enjoying about their relationship here in Tōkyō Revengers. I did find it interesting, but also definitely funny, that when he shook hands with Naoto, and it took him back to the after school fights with the gang, that I do find it definitely hilarious that he gets knocked out here. But I do definitely find it interesting that he's zapped back in this moment. But at the same time, I feel like, per the laws of time, I feel like there's a reason why. It definitely has to be because he needs to meet Sano and Kiyoshi. He needs to meet either one of them fairly quickly. It needs to happen. So for me, I agree that he needs to be placed here, because he's having the conversations with the leader and his side people. Like, he's really like, all right, I need to really just get gun ho and get this done, so that I can be able to meet one of the top leaders of these gangs, so that I can really stop them from meeting, or at least attempt to at least. So it's just just for me, I found it funny, but I definitely understand that he needs to get those meetings over and done with, to try to stop them from meeting, to see what type of an effect it will have on his current timeline in 12 years from now. Now, definitely one of the things that I did enjoy about episode 2, though, for sure, was that they had him and his friends had a conversation in the bathroom, boys' bathroom, and they were just talking about that they were, that the classes were having these fights almost every day. And they were, basically talking about like Takuya is supposed to fight today after school. Everybody's like really worried because Takuya doesn't fight. He's frail and stuff like that. He's skinny, all this stuff. And they're just like, we just have to push through, and hope for the best, right? So I definitely like the fact that in the moment of where Takuya was getting ready to fight, more than likely probably was getting ready to get beat up again because if I remember correctly, Takemichi was the one who was thinking in his mind and saying that Takuya can't fight. Last time he did, he almost died. And really a rough episode for Takemichi too, because he got knocked out, then he was getting beat up by the boss's side guys, and then he asked about Sano and Kiyoshi, and he ends up getting beat up by the boss with the bat. Like really rough episode for him. But within that, it literally only took him a day to really just make the decision to say, you know what, I really need to step up. I really need to get over my fear, face my fear actually. And he says it like, if I don't change anything here, nothing's gonna change for the future. Like if I don't change the thing in the past, nothing's gonna change in the future. And he just basically says, I'm done running. I definitely like the fact that he literally just was just like I felt like, for me, I'm like, they didn't let this drag into episode 3. So I'm glad that they had him really just within a 24-hour time frame to just be like, look, let's get this done, because again, like I said, he only has but so much time from what I can tell from episode 2. What episode 3 is going to bring to the table, I'm not too sure. But again, he is noticing that he doesn't have a lot of time on his hands. Anytime that he's going to be going to the past, it's more like of a rush thing. He needs to get on the ball so that he can try to save Hinata. Because per the future timeline, I'm believing that he is like they probably only have but so much time. What if it's a few days or a couple of weeks or a month or a couple months? Like they really don't have, between him and Naoto, they really don't have that much time to waste when it's pertaining to him using his time traveling powers to go back 12 years ago to stop this meeting from happening. So I am glad that he steps up here towards the end of the episode, or basically this is the end of the episode 2. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the interaction between him and the boss, where if I remember correctly, he said he calls it the boss versus the slave, or the teacher versus slave, something like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to occur in episode 3. It's probably going to be bad, but I feel like I'm rooting for him for sure to be able to maybe possibly get some respect from his other classmates, whether they're lower than him, in the same class, or above him. This might lead to some respect towards his other classmates here that are watching. So with that, I'm getting ready to go watch episode 3 and episode 4, and then do my reviews for both to come. So be on the lookout for those, for my reaction episodes 3 and 4 tomorrow, and then as well as my reviews for episode 3 and 4 a few hours after my reactions to those episodes go up. But let me know your thoughts, guys. What did y'all think of episode 2 when you first sat down and watched it for the first time? Leave some comments in the comment section below if you feel up to talking about it. But other than that, I will talk to y'all next time with more Tōkyō Revengers. Peace, guys.